Another really important organisation that's been supporting us all the way and made a very special announcement to endorse us. An organisation who I know is special to every single one of you because they're Doctors for Environment Australia. So there's not one person in this crowd that doesn't need a doctor, and there isn't one person in this crowd that wouldn't be proud of the fact that the doctors are standing up. And so our next speaker I'm very excited to have today is Dr. Kim Liu, who's a Western Sydney general practitioner. She's from the Doctors for Environment and the Climate and Health Alliance, and she does so much more for the community, for planet Earth, and we'd like to welcome Dr. Kim Liu. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kim Liu. I'm a mother of 2 children, and I've been a general practitioner and now working for 30 years in Western Sydney. I'm a child of Western Sydney. I'm here today because climate change is the greatest threat to our health now and into the future. We have rising air pollution and rising emissions, and this is documented regardless what anyone else says. 3,000 people each year die from breathing in air pollution, which is more than the national road toll.
Shame.
We have rising greenhouse gases, and greenhouse gases trap heat. And we've just had our hottest January, February and March. In the past 100 years in Australia, more people have died from heat waves than all other natural disasters put together. In Western Sydney, where I practice and where I've lived for most of my life, during heat waves, we are often 6 to 10 degrees hotter than the rest of Sydney. This is because of our geography and our urban design. We have houses built so closely together you can't plant any greenery around it. This is a microclimate to trap heat. And we have, with heat, the most vulnerable in our community are the most affected. We have children who aren't that good at regulating their heat, who are more likely to be dehydrated. We have the elderly. We have people who work outside who don't have the choice of where they work. I've got my chronic patients with diabetes, respiratory diseases, cardiac diseases, renal disorders who are impacted by the heat. Heat increases the risk of heart attacks. When you're hot, you sweat to cool down. This brings down your blood volume. And your heart is really damaged, or you've got lung disease, you're more likely to have a heart attack. Not only during summer do we have heat, we have that white haze that you see, which is ground level ozone. Ground level ozone is from the mixture of oxides of nitrogen, or NOxes, and 50% of NOxes in Western Sydney is from the coal-fired power stations in Hunter Valley.
Shame.
This is mixed with volatile organic compounds, and the heat makes this ground level ozone. There is no safe level of ground level ozone to breathe in. It can even irritate normal lungs. Children who are chronically exposed to ground level ozone get like a sunburn of their airways. People with asthma, because ground level ozone causes the constriction of the muscles of the airways. People with asthma are worse. People with lung disease, people with heart disease are worse. I've had so many of my patients who were admitted to hospital because of ground level ozone and the heat. I had one of my patients, my long-term patients I looked after for 14 years, die in January. He was 78 years old. He had a previous heart attack. He had asthma. On a Saturday, which was 41 degrees, I was called from home by the police because they said, you need to come and complete a death certificate for my patient. I went there and saw what had happened. He'd gone out on that 41-degree day to go shopping on his scooter, and he breathed in the ground level ozone, and the heat dehydrated him. By the time he got home, he'd passed away. This was heartbreaking for me. I'd looked after my patient for 14 years. So on the death certificate, I wrote heart attack, heat, ozone. Not only do we have the ground level ozone and the heat, but we also have our rising air pollution. Now, I'm going to have to pull out notes for this, okay? Okay, so we've just had our national pollution inventory in Australia. And this is to measure our level of air pollution in Australia. And we've got monitors. In New South Wales, we've got 44 monitors. This showed that our power stations emit 20 times more pollution than others in the world, many advanced countries. We have, in Sydney, 279 people who die each year from air pollution from generating energy. And the particulate air pollution includes mercury, nitrogen and sulfur dioxide. My associations, the health organisations I belong to, support the Stop Adani convoy because mining and burning fossil fuels benefits no one. We have such a fragile ecological system, our environment around the Barrier Reef, and what are we doing? We're exporting air pollution to India where the air pollution is already so high. So the most vulnerable people in our community are the people who are affected by air pollution, heat, ozone, the very young, the socially isolated, the poor. And what we are doing is that this is a crisis, and the crisis has been least contributed by our children. And thank God for the school strikes for climates, they warm my heart. And thank you so much, Greta. So, governments, communities and corporations need to work together because climate change and mitigation is such a complex problem. We need to wean off fossil fuels, but also have a just transition so those who work in communities that rely on their activities are around fossil fuels are supported. We need to have no new fossil fuel projects. It's not only coal because it's oil and it's gas. And gas is going to be a major problem in Northern Territory and Western Australia. We need to talk to all our friends, our families, our neighbours, people outside our tribes. Because what's happened is that we do work in silos. And it's really reaching out to your family members, because we all have family members who we conflict with regarding climate change. Reach out to your neighbours, go and do a community door knock. Because all of us need to, and with mobilising more people to step up, so this is a climate election. We need to have every vote for climate change. We need to have the political will for a livable world, and we need a healthy planet for healthy people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim Liu. Thank you for being with us here in Western Sydney. I'm very proud and privileged to introduce next speakers who are the Pacific Climate Warriors, Pina Acera and Isaac